Laziness doesn't just waste time. It silently suffocates your future. There's a secret that every successful person knows, but most never talk about. It's not a fancy degree. It's not years of experience. It's not even talent. It's the simple, life-altering decision to start. Before you're ready. You see, most people are waiting for the right time, waiting to feel confident, waiting for permission. But life doesn't wait. Opportunity doesn't come knocking with a warning. It just shows up, and either you're bold enough to answer, or you stay behind, watching others live the life you dreamed of. Think about this. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll start when I feel more prepared"? How many dreams have you buried under excuses like "I'm not qualified, I don't know enough, what if I fail"? The truth is, readiness is a myth. You become ready by doing. Confidence is not something you wait for. It's something you build brick by brick through action. Look around. Every entrepreneur, athlete, artist, or a leader who made a mark on this world had a moment where they jumped without knowing how they'd land. Elon Musk started companies in industries he had no background in. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection after rejection before becoming a media icon. J.K. Rowling was a single mom with no money, writing in cafes. Yet she started anyway. Their greatness didn't come from being ready. It came from having the courage to begin when everything screamed, "You're not ready." And here's the beautiful part. Starting before you're ready doesn't mean being reckless. It means being brave. It means trusting your vision more than your fear. It means choosing progress over perfection. Because waiting for perfection is just another name for procrastination. So today, this message is for you. The one with a dream in your heart, but doubt in your mind. The one who keeps asking, "What if I'm not good enough?" Listen carefully. You'll never be fully ready. But if your heart is calling you to build, create, speak, act, start, it starts to get messy. Start at being scared. Start small, but just start. Because the world doesn't need more perfect people. It needs people willing to move, to learn, to grow, before they're ready. Part 1. Kill the illusion of perfect timing. We've all heard it before. Wait for the right time. It's advice given so often it almost sounds wise. But here's the harsh truth. The perfect time doesn't exist. It never has. It never will. And if you keep waiting for it, you'll be stuck in the same place a year from now, 5 years from now, maybe even for the rest of your life. The illusion of perfect timing is one of the biggest lies that holds people back. It disguises itself as wisdom, but in reality, it's just fear in a fancy outfit. It convinces you that you're being smart by waiting, that more preparation, more learning, more planning is what you need. But how much is enough? When will you feel fully ready? You won't, because readiness is not a feeling. It's a choice. You decide to begin not because the stars align, but because your purpose can't wait any longer. Think about the most impactful moments in your life. Were you completely ready for them? The answer is probably no. When you started school, your first job, your first relationship, were you fully prepared? Of course not. But you learned. You adapted. You figured it out. Action brought clarity. Motion created momentum. That's how life works. You grow through doing, not waiting. Successful people are not those who waited for the perfect time. They are the ones who started despite the imperfection. They moved forward not because they had it all figured out, but because they had faith, they could figure it out along the way. They took messy, uncomfortable, uncertain steps, and that's what led to progress. Ask any entrepreneur who built a business. They'll tell you, their first product wasn't perfect, their first pitch wasn't flawless. But they launched, they shipped, they moved. And that's why they succeeded. Not because they were ready, but because they were brave enough to begin. Perfection is often just fear in disguise. The fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of looking foolish. But here's what most people forget. Growth comes from friction. Mastery comes from mistakes. Every failure is a step closer to success if you're willing to keep walking. Let's be honest. Some people aren't afraid of failing. They're afraid of starting. Because starting means facing their insecurities. Starting means committing. Starting means risking being seen. But starting also means freedom. Freedom from regret. Freedom from what if. Freedom from a life unlived. When you kill the illusion of perfect timing, you give yourself permission to evolve. You give your dreams a fighting chance. You stop living in pause and start living in play. So, don't wait for more knowledge. Don't wait until the fear goes away. Don't wait for the money, the approval, the degree, the green light from someone else. Because you're the light. You're the one who decides. Life rewards movement, not hesitation. It honors courage, not convenience. And if you're willing to step out before everything feels certain, you'll discover a strength in you that was always there, just waiting to be called into action. Kill the illusion. The time is now. Part 2. Progress loves action, not perfection. Progress doesn't care about your perfection. It doesn't care about how clean your plan looks on paper, how flawless your strategy is, or how many certificates hang on your wall. Progress is a movement. It responds to effort, not elegance. You don't need to be perfect to make progress. You just need to start. You just need to act. Because action creates results. Action, even imperfect action, beats perfect inaction every single time. We live in a world obsessed with the highlight reel. Social media shows you the polished product, the $1,000,000 success story, the six-pack abs, the flawless launch. But it rarely shows you the process, the late nights, the messy drafts, the 100 rejections, the endless failures. It hides the real truth, that greatness is born from doing, not waiting. Take a moment and think about a baby learning to walk. That child doesn't wait until it masters balance in theory. It doesn't spend months studying other toddlers before taking its first step. It stands up, wobbles, falls, cries, and then tries again, and again, and again. That's progress. It's messy. It's clumsy, but it's real. As adults, we forget this. We become afraid to stumble, afraid to be seen trying and not succeeding. But every step, no matter how small, no matter how flawed, is still a step forward. Every action taken builds momentum, and momentum is magic. What stops most people isn't a lack of skill. It's the belief that things must be perfect before they move, that their first video must go viral, that their first book must be a bestseller, that their first attempt must look like someone else's 10th. But success doesn't come from hitting home runs. It comes from showing up at the plate day after day, swing after swing. Perfectionism is the enemy of execution. It paralyzes you. It tells you wait until it's better, wait until you're sure, wait until it's safe. But by the time you feel ready, the opportunity has already passed. And someone less talented, less prepared, less polished, but more committed, has taken the shot you were too afraid to take. Let's get one thing straight. Excellence matters. But excellence is a result, not a prerequisite. It's something you build through repetition. It's something you earn through experience. You get better by doing. Your first version doesn't need to be your final version. It just needs to exist. You can improve a draft. You can't improve a blank page. You can correct a performance. You can't fix an excuse. That's why action matters so much. It gives you feedback. It teaches you. It reveals what works and what doesn't. It sharpens your intuition. You can read every book, take every course, listen to every podcast, but nothing replaces doing the work. When you act, even when it's imperfect, the universe responds. Doors start opening. People start noticing. Confidence starts building. Because you've moved from being a dreamer to being a doer. It's okay if it's messy. It's okay if you're awkward. It's okay if the first thing you put out into the world isn't your masterpiece. That's how it's supposed to be. Just don't let perfection steal your progress. Don't let fear of not doing it perfectly stop you from doing it at all. You don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to become great. So show up. Take action. Make progress. Not tomorrow. Not next month. Now. Because progress doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for no one. Part 3. Every expert was once a beginner. Every master you admire today, every author, artist, entrepreneur, athlete, or leader started at zero. Every expert you see standing on the mountaintop began at the bottom, unsure, untrained, and often unnoticed. But they chose to begin. That's what separates them from those who only dream. We often forget that greatness isn't a trait, it's a decision. And the first decision on that path is to start before you feel ready. Because the truth is, nobody becomes excellent by waiting. Excellence is built through action, through failing, through learning, through doing it badly the first time and better the next. Think of someone who inspires you. Maybe it's a legendary entrepreneur like Steve Jobs. Do you know where he began? In a garage, with no investors, no shiny degree in business. Just vision, determination, and a willingness to try. Or take Serena Williams. Before she held championship trophies, she was just a little girl on a public court, swinging wildly, missing shots, learning one hit at a time. And J.K. Rowling? Rejected by a dozen publishers before one said yes. But she didn't stop writing. She didn't stop believing. She didn't wait for a better time. She just kept going. Why do we forget this? Why do we believe we must be amazing from day one? Because we only see the final result. We see the polished, edited, award-winning version. We don't see the awkward beginnings, the long nights, the quiet doubts, the years of being average. But they were there, always. Every expert you admire today once had shaky hands, a shaky voice, and a shaky belief in themselves. But they showed up anyway. Beginner energy is not something to be ashamed of. It's powerful. When you're a beginner, you're open. You're hungry. You're willing to learn. And that hunger will take you further than talent ever could. The world isn't moved by people who wait until they're perfect. It's moved by those who dare to show up, to learn in public, to grow where everyone can see them fall and rise again. We fear looking stupid. We fear judgment. But what we forget is, no one starts at the top. Everyone starts with day one. Everyone writes their first page, runs their first mile, records their first awkward video. And it's in those early imperfect days that the foundation of success is laid. There's honor in being a beginner. It means you're trying. It means you're stepping into the arena. And yes, it means you'll make mistakes, but it also means you'll learn. Every time you show up, you're casting a vote for the future version of yourself. Every small action is a seed, and the harvest only comes if you're brave enough to plant. Don't compare your Chapter 1 to someone else's Chapter 20. Don't measure your worth by how far you still have to go. Measure it by your courage to start. To begin despite the fear. To speak despite the doubt. To walk even when the path isn't clear. Every expert was once a beginner who didn't give up. So if you feel small right now, that's okay.
If you feel lost, uncertain, unqualified, it's all part of the beginning. But beginnings hold power. They're raw. They're real. They shape you. Be proud of being a beginner. Wear it like armor. Because today's beginner is tomorrow's expert. But only if you start. Part 4, use fear as fuel. Fear. That voice in your head that whispers, "What if I fail?" That knot in your stomach when you think about stepping into the unknown. That invisible weight that convinces you to stay in your comfort zone. Fear isn't the enemy, but how you respond to it determines everything. Most people treat fear like a stop sign. They reach the edge of something new, feel that rush of panic, and immediately turn back. But the truth is, fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signal. It's telling you something important is on the other side. Something worth chasing. Something that matters. And that's exactly why it scares you. Fear shows up not when you're doing something meaningless, but when you're standing on the edge of your potential. Think about it, when you're about to do something ordinary, fear doesn't show up. You don't get anxious about brushing your teeth or watching TV, but start talking about launching a business, writing your first book, or quitting the job that's draining your soul, and fear roars in. That's because you're about to step out of the predictable. You're about to grow. And fear hates growth, because it thrives on safety. But what if you stopped running from fear, and started running with it? What if you used fear as fuel? Every time fear rises, it's a sign you're pushing your limits. Use it as a guide, not a guard. Let it sharpen your focus. Let it increase your awareness. Let it remind you that you're alive, evolving, moving closer to your edge. Think of fear like fire. Left uncontrolled, it burns you down. But harnessed? It powers engines, rockets, revolutions. It all depends on how you handle it. Most of the things you fear aren't even real. They're mental projections. What will people think? What if I look stupid? What if I lose everything? But when you take action despite the fear, you realize something incredible. The fear starts to shrink. You were afraid of a shadow. And shadows disappear in the light of action. Every person you admire feels fear. Every game changer, every disruptor, every visionary was afraid when they started. But they didn't wait for fear to leave. They moved forward with it. They turned fear into fuel. The moment you stop trying to eliminate fear and start reframing it, everything changes. Instead of thinking, "I'm scared, I shouldn't do this," try, "I'm scared, this must be important." Instead of saying, "What if I fail?" ask, "What if I fly?" Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision that something else is more important. Your dream. Your purpose. Your future. All of it is more valuable than temporary discomfort. The world isn't waiting for the most fearless person. It's waiting for the most willing. The one who's willing to act while scared. The one who's willing to look fear in the face and say, "You don't own me." You'll feel the fear. Let it come. Let it sit beside you. But don't let it take the wheel. You're the driver. You choose the direction. You choose the speed. And you choose to move, even if your hands are shaking. Because the more you do that, the more power you reclaim. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for confidence, you build it. Who doesn't wait for certainty, you create it. Who doesn't fear fear, you use it. So the next time fear knocks on your door, don't hide. Open the door, smile, and say, "Let's go." Part 5. Let the work teach you. There's a moment in every journey when you realize something powerful. You don't learn before you start, you learn by starting. You don't become great then begin. You begin, and the work shapes you into something great. Most people don't fail because they're not smart or talented. They fail because they never allow the process to teach them. They get stuck in preparation. Stuck in planning. Stuck in imagining. But nothing changes until you do the thing. Nothing makes sense until you're in the arena. You can read every book on swimming, watch hours of tutorials, memorize every stroke. But none of it matters until you jump in the water. Because only the water can teach you how to swim. The same is true in life. Want to be a speaker? Start speaking. You'll learn more from one awkward presentation than a dozen TED Talks. Want to build a business? Start selling. Every rejection will teach you more than any MBA course. Want to write a book? Write a terrible first chapter. Then another. That's how books get written, through the doing. Too many people get caught in the illusion of, I need to know more before I begin. But what they don't realize is that the knowledge they need is inside the journey, not before it. The work holds wisdom. The path reveals the way. Your first version won't be your best. That's not failure, it's feedback. It's the beginning of refinement. Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every stumble becomes part of your rhythm. And with each step, you stop fearing the unknown, because it's no longer unknown. It's an experience. Think about the first time you tried anything new, riding a bike, using a new language, learning an instrument. Were you any good? Probably not. But over time, with repetition, you got better. Why? Because you showed up. You gave yourself permission to be a beginner. And the more you did it, the more the work started teaching you. That's how confidence is built. Not by waiting. Not by preparing endlessly. But by engaging, failing, adjusting, and growing. When you let the work teach you, you realize something liberating. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to take the next step. That's all. Because once you do, the path becomes clearer. The next step reveals itself. Too often, we think clarity comes before action. But in truth, clarity is the reward of action. When you begin, the fog starts to lift. You discover what works and what doesn't. You discover what you're good at, and what you need to improve. You discover that your dream is not just a fantasy, it's something you can build. This mindset frees you from perfectionism. It frees you from the trap of comparison. Because now, you're not trying to be flawless, you're trying to be better than yesterday. And that's enough. That's how real growth happens. The most successful people in the world are not the most prepared, they're the most engaged. They're in the trenches, doing the work, listening, learning, adapting. They're students of their own process. And every hour they spend inside their craft shapes them into a master. You don't have to be certain. You just have to be committed. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be willing. The lessons you're waiting for are waiting for you, inside the work. So don't hesitate. Don't overthink it. Pick up the pen. Press record. Make the call. Launch the project. You'll never be fully ready. But you'll always be guided, if you let the work teach you. Part 6, Say yes, then figure it out. One of the greatest skills you can develop in life is the ability to say yes before you feel ready. Not recklessly, but with belief. Because sometimes the only way to grow into the next version of yourself is to accept the challenge first, and then become the person who can handle it. Most people say no to opportunities that could change their lives. Not because they don't want it, but because they don't believe they're ready. They wait for a sign. They wait for the right timing. They wait until they feel qualified. But what if readiness is something that comes after the commitment? What if growth begins after the yes?
You weren't born ready to do any of the great things you've done. You weren't ready to walk, to speak, to love, to lose, to heal, but you figured it out. You adjusted. You adapted. That same ability still lives in you today. You don't need certainty, you need faith in your capacity to learn. Think of the biggest turning points in your life. They likely didn't come from cautious planning, they came from bold decisions. They came when you took a leap. You said yes to the job you didn't feel qualified for. Yes to the speech you were terrified to give. Yes to the project you had no blueprint for. And then under pressure, with your back against a wall, you grew into someone new. That's what say yes, then figure it out means. It means betting on yourself. It means accepting the invitation, even when your inner critic says, you're not good enough. Because deep down, something stronger whispers, but what if I am? You'll never expand your life by shrinking from the unknown. You have to step into rooms you feel unworthy of. You have to walk into opportunities before you feel prepared. Because that's where transformation lives outside of comfort, beyond hesitation. Saying yes forces you to rise. It demands a higher version of you. And in that stretch, that tension between fear and action, you uncover gifts you never knew you had. You become resourceful. You get creative. You discover that you're far more capable than you ever gave yourself credit for. Most people think they need confidence to begin. But confidence isn't something you have, it's something you build. Every time you say yes, every time you show up unsure but willing, you add another brick to your foundation of belief. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to figure it out on the way. That's how the most successful people operate. They don't know everything, but they trust themselves to learn, to adapt, to grow. And that trust carries them farther than knowledge ever could. Saying yes doesn't mean you'll never fail. You will, but failure is a teacher. It sharpens you. Saying yes is about making a move. Because when you move, life moves with you. Resources appear. People show up. Momentum begins. But none of it starts until you say yes. So the next time life offers you something that scares you, something that feels big, uncomfortable, intimidating, pause. Breathe. Then say yes. Say yes to the challenge. Say yes to the next level. Say yes to your own potential. Because you'll figure it out. You always have. You don't need permission. You don't need perfection. You don't need a plan so detailed it removes all risk. What you need is courage. One bold moment. One loud yes. And once you say it, everything changes. Part 7. Start ugly, finish strong. Most people never begin because they want their start to be beautiful, clean, impressive, perfect. But that's not how greatness begins. The truth is, you have to be willing to start ugly if you ever want to finish strong. Every masterpiece had a messy beginning. Every success story started in a place of uncertainty, doubt, and often embarrassment. That first attempt, it won't look good. It won't sound right. It won't match the vision you have in your head. But that's okay. It's supposed to be that way. We've been conditioned to avoid mess, to avoid imperfection. In school, you were told not to make mistakes. At work, you were told to play it safe. But in life, progress demands something different. It demands movement, even when it's awkward. It demands creation, even when it's clumsy. It demands courage, even when the product isn't polished. Your first video will be awkward. Your first business will be unrefined. Your first speech, your first song, your first attempt, they won't be pretty. But they will be real. And real is what matters. Because
your steps become stronger. But that only happens if you give yourself permission to begin imperfectly. Look at any artist, entrepreneur, or innovator who made it. Go back and find their first work. You'll see the same thing: rough edges, shaky execution, visible nerves. But those beginnings? They were powerful. Not because they were polished, but because they existed. They were real attempts, real progress. And those ugly starts became the foundation of something brilliant. We often compare our first step to someone else's finish line. But comparison kills momentum. The people you admire, they had their messy beginnings too. The only difference is they kept going. They embraced the chaos. They used the discomfort. They understood that greatness isn't born from perfection, it's born from persistence. Starting ugly takes humility. It takes vulnerability. But it also takes strength. Because it means you care more about your growth than your image. It means you're willing to be seen trying, failing, learning. And that's what makes you dangerous. That's what makes you unstoppable. Don't waste your energy trying to appear perfect. Use it to become better. Don't spend years polishing an idea in your head. Put it into the world. Let the world shape it. Let the world respond to it. Let yourself evolve through the process. What matters is that you start. Whether it's with a cracked voice, shaky hands, or an unrefined product, just begin. Because the longer you wait to be perfect, the longer you delay your potential. You don't need approval. You don't need applause. You don't even need to be understood. What you need is boldness. The boldness to say, I'm starting anyway. The boldness to be raw, to be honest, to be seen. Start ugly, with typos, with nerves, with flaws. Just start. Because with every iteration, you'll get closer. With every step, you'll get stronger. And one day, you'll look back and realize the finish was beautiful not because it was flawless, but because you had the grit to keep going. The ones who win are not the ones who start best. They are the ones who start, period. So forget the image. Forget the pressure. Forget the need to impress. Just show up messy and real. Because the world doesn't need more perfect people, it needs more people willing to be brave. Start ugly. Finish strong. Don't win now. You've heard the truth. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a choice. The life you want, the dream you carry, the person you're meant to become. None of it waits for you to feel ready. It waits for you to begin. Every excuse you've ever told yourself, I need more time, I need more experience, I need more confidence, was never about readiness. It was about fear. But fear doesn't go away by thinking. It fades when you act. You beat hesitation by moving. You overcome doubt by doing. And you build courage not by waiting, but by walking forward while scared. The world has enough people waiting for permission, waiting for guarantees, waiting until everything feels safe. But safety isn't the birthplace of greatness, risk is. Growth lives in discomfort. Strength is born in uncertainty. And your breakthrough? It's hiding in that space just beyond your comfort zone. You don't need to have the perfect plan. You don't need the perfect background or the perfect voice or the perfect start. What you need is a fire inside you that says, I will not wait for perfection, I will build with what I have. Because everything you're searching for, confidence, clarity, skill, resilience, lives inside the process. And the process begins the moment you stop saying, maybe one day, and start saying day one. You've been given a life, not a guarantee, not a reset button, a life. And with that life comes a choice, to sit back, wonder, and wish, or to stand up, start, and build. Start small, start slow, start being afraid, but just start. There is no magic moment coming, no cosmic green light. No voice from the sky telling you it's time. That voice, it has to come from you. From the part of you that knows you're meant for more. From the part that's tired of settling. From the part that's ready to stop watching others live your dream. This is your reminder. The people who win in life aren't the ones who always know what they're doing. They're the ones who are bold enough to try, brave enough to begin, relentless enough to keep going. So stop asking, am I ready? Ask instead, am I willing? Willing to grow? Willing to be seen starting? Willing to keep moving even when it's messy? Because readiness is not a door that opens to you. It's a wall you break through. Do you want success? Stop waiting. Do you want change? Stop waiting. You want your life to mean something more? Then stop waiting and start. Today. Right now. Exactly where you are. With exactly what you have. Because greatness is not about how perfectly you begin. It's about the courage to begin at all, the grit to keep going, the humility to learn, and the strength to rise. You may not be ready, but you're still enough. So go, build, create, speak, move. Start before you are ready, and you'll discover you were always more ready than you knew.